In a world far from human eyes, a great forest stood. It was ancient and deep. Sunlight struggled to reach the ground, but it came down in bright, golden spears. These spears of light touched the soft green moss and the giant roots of old trees. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and sweet flowers. Strange and wonderful plants grew everywhere, their leaves as big as shields. This was a magical place, a forgotten kingdom of green. Every leaf and every stone held a secret. The wind whispered old stories through the tall trees. It was a world alive with tiny wonders and hidden dangers. Under the strong, twisted root of a giant tree, a city thrived. This was the home of the Black Ant Colony. It was a busy, peaceful kingdom built deep in the dark, safe earth. Tunnels ran like secret hallways, connecting chambers filled with food and precious eggs. Strong soldier ants stood guard at every entrance. Their bodies were like polished black armor, and their jaws were sharp like tiny swords. They watched the forest with serious eyes, always ready to defend their home. Inside, smaller worker ants hurried back and forth. They carried tiny seeds and sweet drops of nectar, their legs moving in a constant, determined rhythm. Their world was one of hard work and quiet order. The soldiers were the protectors of the colony. They felt the vibrations of the forest floor through their feet and could smell an enemy from far away. Their duty was to stand between their family and the dangers of the great green world. They did not know fear. They only knew loyalty to their queen and their home. The workers, meanwhile, were the heart of the colony. They cleaned the tunnels, cared for the young, and gathered the food that kept everyone alive. Their endless labor was a song of life, a promise that the Black Ant Kingdom would continue to prosper under the ancient tree's watchful gaze. Life was a predictable and comforting cycle. The sun would rise, painting the forest in light, and the workers would emerge to begin their tasks. The soldiers would change their guard, their antennae twitching, always alert. They knew the sounds and smells of their territory perfectly. They knew the friendly beetles that crawled nearby, and the dangerous spiders that lurked in the shadows. The black ants loved their home. It was a place of safety and purpose, a dark, warm world carved out beneath the immense, breathing forest. They asked for nothing more than to live in peace, protected by the great root and their own quiet strength. Far away at the edge of the great forest, the world changed. The ground was dry and cracked, the trees were thin and twisted. Here the sun was not gentle, it was a harsh, hot eye in the sky. In this tough land, another kingdom stood. It was a fortress of red sand and sharp stones. This was the home of the Red Ant Colony. Their city was not hidden. It was a proud mound that rose from the earth like a jagged mountain. It was a statement of power, a warning to all who came near. The Red Ants were not peaceful. They were warriors, born from the heat and the dust. Their leader was a fearsome commander. He was larger than the other Red Ants. His body was a deep, angry red like a burning coal. His eyes saw the world as something to be conquered. He stood at the highest point of their fortress, looking toward the green, distant forest. He saw its riches. He saw the food and the water. He wanted it all. The commander was not patient. He was a storm of anger and ambition. He paced back and forth, his sharp legs clicking on the hard sand. He was making a plan of fire and war. The commander believed that strength was the only law. He had built his army into a fearsome fighting force. The red soldier ants were fierce and aggressive. They trained every day, clashing their jaws and practicing battle formations. Unlike the black ants who sought harmony, the red ants thrived on conflict. They believed that taking from others was the only way to survive and grow stronger. The commander looked at his warriors with pride. They were a weapon, and he was ready to use them. His heart burned with a desire for conquest and glory. The plan was simple and brutal. They would attack at dawn. They would march into the green forest and take what they wanted. The commander gathered his captains. He spoke in sharp, clicking sounds. His voice was full of authority and rage. He told them of the Black Ant Kingdom, a soft target hidden under a tree. He promised them victory. He promised them the spoils of war. The red ants listened, their antennae quivering with excitement. They were ready. The shadow of their ambition was stretching long and dark, reaching for the peaceful heart of the forest. That night, the moon was a sliver of cold white light. It cast long dancing shadows across the forest floor. The world was quiet, but it was not asleep. The Red Commander sent out his best scouts. They were silent and quick. Their red bodies were like drops of blood moving through the darkness. Their mission was to find the Black Ant Kingdom. They had to map the paths and find the weakest points of defense. They moved like ghosts, their feet making no sound on the fallen leaves. The air was cool, and the scent of the deep forest was all around them. The Red Scouts were careful. They crawled under ferns and over twigs. They moved with a confidence born from many successful missions. They could see the great tree root now, a dark shape against the starry sky. It was the place the commander had described. Success was close. They could almost taste it. One of the scouts climbed a tall blade of grass to get a better view. He saw the entrance to the Black Ant City. He saw the guards. A feeling of triumph filled his small heart. He was ready to report back to his commander. The invasion would soon begin. But the Black Ants were not sleeping. Their soldiers were always watching. They were part of the night. Their dark bodies blended perfectly with the shadows. A black soldier hidden beneath a flat stone felt a strange vibration. It was not the sound of a friendly beetle. It was the quick, light step of an intruder. The soldier sent a silent signal to his comrades. He sent a chemical message through the air. The message was simple: enemy. Instantly, other black soldiers moved into position. They did not make a sound. They became living traps, waiting in the darkness. The trap was sprung. As the Red Scouts turned to leave, the black soldiers emerged from the shadows. They moved with terrifying speed. The fight was short and brutal. There was no time for bravery or tactics. It was a chaotic clash of jaws and legs in the pale moonlight. The Red Scouts were surprised and outnumbered. They fought back fiercely, but it was no use. The black soldiers were defending their home. Their quiet fury was unstoppable. A single Red Scout managed to escape the ambush, running in terror back toward the dry lands, carrying the news of the discovery and the failure. The lone scout's return sent the Red Commander into a rage. His plan was discovered. He did not care. His anger was a fire that demanded to be fed. There would be no more stealth. There would be only war. At dawn, the Red Army marched. They were a crimson river flowing from the dry lands into the green forest. They moved not in silence, but with a loud, aggressive clicking that echoed through the trees. They were an army of rage, and the commander marched at their head, his heart pounding with the promise of battle. They would crush the Black Ants and take their kingdom. The Black Ants were ready. The warning from their night patrol had given them time to prepare. When the Red Army burst into the large, sun-dappled clearing before their home, they found the Black Army waiting. The black soldiers were arranged in perfect straight lines. They were a wall of black armor and sharp jaws. They stood still and silent, a disciplined force ready to defend their home to the last. Their queen and their entire colony were behind them. Failure was not an option. The forest held its breath. The birds fell silent. The two armies faced each other under the morning sun. The Red Commander let out a furious roar, a high-pitched cry that signaled the attack. The Red Army charged. They broke their formation and swarmed forward in a chaotic, terrifying wave. They crashed against the black lines like a red tide against a black cliff. The battle began. It was a storm of tiny bodies. The air filled with the sounds of clicking jaws and the sharp smells of ant battle chemicals. The Black Ants fought with calm, deadly precision, holding their lines, protecting each other. The Red Ants fought with wild, individual fury, trying to break through the disciplined defense. The clearing became a whirlwind of desperate struggle. For every Red Ant that fell, another took its place. For every gap in the black line, a soldier would quickly fill it. The sun climbed higher in the sky, beating down on the terrible scene. The ground was littered with the fallen. The Red Commander watched from a small rise, his antennae twitching with fury. His wild charge had not broken the enemy. They were stronger than he had imagined. His rage grew into a burning inferno. This was not over. He let out another furious roar, a promise of more fighting, more war. His army would regroup. They would attack again.